Welcome to Dark Truths, Religion Uncovered. Tonight, we're exploring a quiet but profound shift in beliefs, the disappearance of awe. We'll look at the striking contrasts between the ancient reverence for the divine and the casual, modern familiarity we often have today. What have we lost since the time when God was a figure to be feared and respected, not just a concept we occasionally manage? In ancient theology, encountering God was no small thing. These encounters were dangerous, destabilizing, and often terrifying. Mountains trembled, people fell on their faces in humility, and priests went through intense purification, knowing one misstep could be their last. To approach the divine was to face your own mortality. This wasn't because God was cruel, but because holiness, in all its intensity, was simply overwhelming. Awe, in this context, wasn't just an emotional thrill. It was a deep existential humility, a reminder that humanity was not in control. Fast forward to today. In our modern, spiritual world, this essential awe has often been replaced by a search for comfort. The contemporary God is approachable, relatable, and friendly. We weave him into our casual chats and use simple explanations for life's complexities. In this shift, reverence gives way to familiarity. Fear, which was once seen as the beginning of wisdom, is now often viewed as an unhealthy feeling. But Scripture never treats the fear of the Lord as a problem. It sees it as a path to wisdom. This isn't a paralyzing terror, but a healthy respect that keeps us aware of our place in the cosmos. Modern beliefs often resist this idea because fear can challenge our personal autonomy. A God who inspires awe is a God who can't be controlled. In contrast, a God who brings comfort is much easier to manage, fitting neatly into our human-sized boxers. So theology adapts. God becomes predictable. Worship became more casual than profound. The language we use for the divine loses its weight. Sacred spaces turn into multi-purposed rooms. And slowly, without us even noticing, all evaporates. It leaves a void that weakens our spiritual connection. But ancient theology tells us that awe isn't optional. It's essential. It has the power to change our behavior, creating humility and cutting down arrogance. Think about the prophet Isaiah. When he encountered the divine, he didn't feel validated. Instead, he was hit with his own smallness, crying out, "Woe is me." Much of modern beliefs, on the other hand, looks for validation and affirmation. And while that feels good, it doesn't bring about the deep, genuine transformation that AW provides. Awe reminds us that God is not just an extension of our own values. He exists beyond them, judging and transcending our limited views. When all disappears, our belief becomes smaller. We shrink God down to a manageable size. But here's the problem with that. A God that fits into our tidy categories cannot command our obedience. This is why modern belief often struggles with concepts like discipline, sacrifice, and submission. When God no longer inspires awe, obedience becomes optional. Reverence becomes a matter of personal preference. The challenge is clear. Ancient belief operated from a sense of obligation because God was seen as vast and mysterious. Modern belief often involves negotiating with a God who has become far too familiar. This familiarity dulls our attention to the sacred. It erodes seriousness and fosters a sense of entitlement. Awe, however, sharpens our awareness, keeping us grounded in the reality that we stand before something we can't fully comprehend. This tension is vital. It prevents faith from becoming arrogant. Furthermore, modern beliefs often seeks intimacy without transcendence. Ancient theology argues that true intimacy actually comes from recognizing God's transcendence. God is near precisely because he is beyond our comprehension. When awe fades, intimacy can turn into simple sentimentality. Worship shifts from an act of surrender to an exercise in emotional self-help. This can create a casual, diluted faith that struggles to withstand life's crises. Ancient belief, on the other hand, drew strength from awe. In times of disaster, God's magnificence wasn't questioned. He was trusted to guide people through their suffering. In contrast, modern beliefs often crumbles when faced with disappointment, because we've replaced awe with an expectation of comfort. A God we find comfortable is a God we can easily abandon, but a God who inspires a healthy fear, a true awe, is one we learn to hold on to, no matter how hard things get. The truth for tonight is stark. When all vanishes, faith loses its gravity. God becomes something we can manage. Belief becomes a simple choice, and holiness becomes just a theory. This leads us to the question ancient theology would ask the modern believer. If encountering God no longer leaves you silent, humbled, or undone, who or what are you actually encountering? Thank you for joining us. Share your thoughts below. Has modern belief made God too familiar? Or have we forgotten the power of standing in? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more dark truths.